Now, you know, the Hunter Biden laptop story has been a big deal, big news. You also know that liberal media outlets, for the most part, chose not to cover it, not to talk about it. That was not a surprise to me. But now, new information has been revealed about Hunter Biden, and I believe that this is just a stepping point to get to the real issue. Remember what I told you before in reference to these government agencies? Sometimes they will come after you for one little thing because they can't get you on the big issue. And that is what I believe is happening here. There's two things that are happening with Hunter Biden. The first one is this IRS story coming out of the Wall Street Journal. Let's take a look at this. Hunter Biden probe is being mishandled, IRS supervisor says. So the IRS is one of those government agencies. Let's get into this story. There's a picture of Hunter Biden there. I'll make this a little bit larger, actually, because okay. There we go. An IRS supervisor has told lawmakers he has information that suggests the Biden administration is improperly handling the criminal investigation into President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, and is seeking whistleblower protections. This is huge. Again, Wall Street Journal reported this. A letter sent to Congress on Wednesday says a career Internal Revenue Service criminal supervisory special agent has information that would contradict sworn testimony by a senior political appointee. The supervisor also has information about a failure to mitigate clear conflicts of interest in the ultimate disposition of the case, according to the letter. The supervisor has details that show preferential treatment and politics improperly infecting decisions and protocols that would normally be followed by career law enforcement professionals in similar circumstances if the subject were not politically connected. So, what do they mean? Obviously, Hunter Biden is Joe Biden's son. Joe Biden right now is president of the United States. So someone like Hunter Biden, yes, it is likely that he is going to receive some type of preferential treatment because that is the president's son. Even probably before then, right? When Joe Biden was a senator, he probably still received preferential treatment. I don't know who this whistleblower is, and neither do you. But I will say this person is pretty brave for speaking out against this. Let's go on. The letter says the supervisor has been overseeing an ongoing and sensitive investigation of a high-profile, controversial subject since early 2020, which it did not name. The investigation at issue is into younger Mr. Biden, the people familiar with the matter said. A spokesman for the White House deferred to the Justice Department or the IRS for comment. Spokeswomen for the Justice Department and for the U.S. Attorney's Office in Delaware, which is leading the investigation, declined to comment. Of course they did. A spokesman for the IRS and a spokeswoman for Hunter Biden didn't immediately respond to requests for comment. Hunter Biden is facing criminal investigation related to his taxes and whether he made a false statement in connection with a gun purchase. When he said in December 2020 that his tax matters were under investigation, Hunter Biden said he was confident that a professional and objective review of these matters will demonstrate that I handled my affairs legally and appropriately. Let me pause right there for just a second. So they're trying to get him on tax corruption, right? One of the ways to take down someone, let's say it's a bigger issue that they're involved in. In Hunter Biden's case, it would be the Hunter Biden laptop story, right? But let's say, for whatever reason, you don't have enough evidence to get him on the bigger issue. Oftentimes, what these agencies will do is they'll get you on something else just to get you. Let me make something very clear. If the FBI, if the CIA, if the NSA, if these government agencies want to get you, they will find a way to get you on something. And one of the easiest ways to get people, especially people who have a lot of money, is to get them with tax fraud, with tax corruption. Taxes are the easiest way to get these individuals. Let's go on. Investigators have believed for months they had enough evidence to indict the younger Mr. Biden. The Journal and other news outlets have reported. Prosecutors have also weighed whether Hunter Biden's well-documented drug addiction would present a defense against a potential criminal tax case. He hasn't been charged with any wrongdoing. Okay, this is a reach. This is a reach. Listen, a lot of people in this country have struggled with addiction. And I don't remember any average Joe being able to get out of tax issues because they had a drug addiction. This is a reach. The investigation has been led by a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney, David Weiss, who has remained the top federal prosecutor in Delaware under the Biden administration. During a March oversight hearing, Attorney General Merrick Garland said Mr. Weiss has broad independence to pursue the charges. He has been advised he is not to be denied anything that he needs. Now, this is coming from Merrick Garland. Mr. Garland testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee on March 1st. I have not heard anything from that office to suggest that they are not able to do everything the U.S. attorney wants to do. The Justice Department. The investigation has unfolded against the backdrop of congressional inquiries scrutinizing the Biden family's finances and specifically Hunter Biden's income from work overseas. Now, what does this go back to? This goes back to this idea that some of the information that is on that laptop has to deal with Hunter Biden's work overseas, particularly with Ukraine. Continuing on, in March, the Republican-led House Oversight Committee released a memo saying that the president's family indirectly received money from a Chinese oil company in 2017 after Mr. Biden stepped down as vice president. Chinese oil company. Now, I want to make a comparison here because right now you have Amali Yeshitela, right? We're going to get into that story, who is charged. And the federal government or these government agencies, they're trying to say that people like Amali Yeshitela, people that are part of the African People's Socialist Party, took payments from Russia. But here we have an accusation here where it is believed that the Biden family received money from a Chinese oil company. But you don't see these government agencies charging Hunter Biden or anyone else in that family. Now, they probably can't charge Joe Biden because he's president right now. But if he were to step down or if he were not to run again, but I think he is going to run again. But if he were not to win, they would have every right to go after him as well. But you need to make the comparison. Why would they have no problem going after Amali Yeshitela for a similar situation, but they would not go after Hunter Biden? This Hunter Biden issue has been a problem for a couple of years. We've been hearing about this issue. We've been hearing about what could be on that laptop, but they have yet to charge Hunter Biden. It's all about who you know, people. It is all about who you know and who you are connected to. As part of their investigation, Republican lawmakers reached an agreement with the Treasury Department to access reports it has received of suspicious financial transactions related to members of President Biden's family. Listen, is it possible that those suspicious financial transactions could also be on that laptop? These are questions we need to ask. The Wednesday letter from Mark Light, a lawyer for the IRS agent, said his client wants whistleblower protections to provide his information. It was addressed to both Republican and Democratic leaders on the Senate and House Judiciary Committees, the Senate Finance Committee, and the House Ways and Means Committee. So in other words, our politicians in DC, anyone who's on those committees, they know about this. So next time, for those of you that are doing the confrontations for the politicians when they come and they have these town meetings like Jose and his group, next one you go to, look up and see who are on these committees, which politicians are a part of these committees. And the next time one of those politicians comes to do a town hall meeting or whatever, ask them about this situation with Hunter Biden. Let's go on. Oh, and they can't lie and say to you that they don't know about it because it tells you right here that they know about it. Despite serious risk of retaliation, my client is offering to provide you with information necessary to exercise your constitutional oversight function and wishes to make the disclosures in a nonpartisan manner to the leadership of the relevant committees on both sides of the political aisle. That's the letter signed by Mr. Lytle. According to the letter, the employee previously disclosed his information internally at the IRS and to the Justice Department's Inspector General. He is restricted from sharing some of the information due to privacy laws that shield Americans' tax return information. While taxpayer information is largely protected from disclosure, the tax code allows the chair of the tax panels, including the Ways and Means Committee, to request and receive any tax returns from the IRS. Democrats used that tool to obtain former President Donald Trump's tax returns last year. So, here we have a whistleblower from the IRS who seems to have information, financial information, not just about Hunter Biden, because it says the Biden's family, that could prove to be pretty damning if they want protection. If the whistleblower is asking for protection, that means that the information that they have, in my opinion, is pretty damning. This person needs to be protected at all costs. Now, there's more, because it's not just about that particular situation. There's more information that's come out about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. Now, this was reported from ALX. Listen to this. I'll make this a little bit bigger. Breaking. In private sworn testimony, former acting CIA Director Mike Morrell says that the Biden campaign asked him to organize 50 colleagues to sign a letter in October 2020, falsely claiming that emails from Hunter Biden's laptop published by the New York Post were Russian disinformation. All of Hunter Biden's foolishness is coming out. All of it. Here we now have a former acting CIA director who has come forward and is admitting that the Biden campaign basically told him to lie and say that that article from the New York Post was Russian disinformation. He is not protected. His name is listed. Look at everything that's coming out, you guys. Look at everything that's coming out. Remember when the New York Post wrote that article about Hunter Biden's laptop? Remember what the Twitter files revealed? The Twitter files revealed to you that government agencies told Twitter to suppress or hide that article from the New York Post. And then it was like, you never really heard of it again. That article came out. Nobody else seemed to want to report that story. And just like that, boom, hide it from social media so the word doesn't get out. Same thing they're doing right now with Seymour Hersh's article about the Nord Stream pipeline. There's more. Oh my God, so much is coming out. EMK said, let the lid blow off the damn thing. Exactly. So much corruption is being exposed right now. Let's do it. He goes on to say, he says, Anthony Blinken, now Secretary of State, was the senior campaign official who reached out to him on or before October 17th, 2020. 3 days after the Post published an email from the laptop suggesting Hunter Biden had introduced his Ukrainian business partners to his father. Remember, this was part of the information that was believed to be on that laptop. Now we know, according to this former CIA official, that Anthony Blinken was also in on this. He reached out to him. See how they try to cover for Joe Biden and his family? And when you're thinking about this particular story, I want you to also keep in mind Tara Reade's story. Because what did these government agencies, what did those officials do in reference to protecting Joe Biden when it comes to Tara Reade's story? Who had a hand in that? There's more. We're going to play this clip here. ALX says, flashback. During the 2020 debates, Joe Biden used the letter signed by 50 former intelligence officials to deflect from questions about Hunter's laptop. So I remember this. Let's all watch this again. And for those of you that did not see this at all, you will see it now. Let's all refresh our memories, ladies and gentlemen.
Very quickly. There are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said that this has all the 5 former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani. Very quickly. There are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant.
50 former that were asked to sign that letter. The video doesn't lie, guys. I watched this debate live. I remember this conversation. Oh, Joe, this is all coming out. There's more video. Let me come back in. So that's him revealing himself there. And of course, corporate media parroted the false claim. And I remember this as well, too. This is going to show you, when we talk about corruption, this is going to show you how the State Department and mainstream media work together. Watch how they just followed their lead. Remember this?
Secret emails.
A really fishy story.
The Post claimed that the emails were found on a laptop computer that was brought to a repair shop in Delaware in the spring of 2019.
The FBI is now investigating whether those alleged Hunter Biden emails are actually connected to a larger foreign intelligence operation.
They may be related to a foreign intelligence operation.
Foreign intelligence operation.
Foreign intelligence.
Foreign intelligence.
Foreign intelligence operation.
For all we know, these emails are made up.
The information found on the laptop may be part of a Russian disinformation campaign.
Part of a Russian disinformation effort.
Described by many intelligence experts as having hallmarks.
All the hallmarks
of a Russian
disinformation.
Russian disinformation.
disinformation campaign.
This is a classic example of the right-wing media machine. Secret emails.
A really fishy story.
The Post claimed that the emails were found on a laptop computer that was brought to a repair shop in Delaware in the...
Notice they all have the same talking points, different networks, different commentators, but they're all saying the same thing because they got the memo from the State Department. You see, sometimes people, they make these statements on these news segments, and then they forget that they made these statements. And they'll try to lie a year or so later as if we forgot. Now, there's another video that he also has, I told you, this is damning evidence here. Damning evidence. He says here, Biden repeatedly used the letter to deflect questions about the laptop, even after the election. Let's get into this video.
This is classic Trump. We have 4 days left, and all of a sudden there's a laptop. There's overwhelming evidence that from the intelligence community that the Russians are engaged.
I still think that the stories from the fall about your son Hunter were Russian disinformation and a smear campaign, like you said.
Yes. I know you'd asked it. I have no response. It's another smear campaign. It's the last-ditch effort in this desperate campaign to smear me and my family. The vast majority of the intelligence people have come out and said there's no basis at all. This is
So that happened. So let's go back to the beginning. Back to the beginning. Again, this is breaking. In private sworn testimony, former acting CIA director Mike Morrell says that the Biden campaign asked him to organize 50 colleagues. Those are the 50 colleagues that Biden mentions during that debate with Donald Trump, to sign a letter in October 2020, falsely claiming, pay attention to the vocabulary, claiming that emails from Hunter Biden's laptop published by the New York Post were Russian disinformation. This is coming from Mike Morrell, former CIA director. Now, here's what's damning about this. In this video, Biden pretty much gives it all away. Listen to the vocabulary he uses. We'll see this one more time.
very quickly. There are 50 former national intelligence folks.
50. The 50 that were mentioned in that letter. Okay? The 50 that he mentioned at the beginning of that post that the former CIA director mentioned, 50 colleagues.
Who said that what this he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have.
Isn't that what the former CIA director just said?
Said that this has all the five former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage.
5 former heads of the CIA. And one of those former heads is this gentleman right here, Mike Morrell. So even if he tries to come back and deny it and say he never said that, the video footage is clear. So what do you do with this information? What do you do with it? This is corruption at its finest. Let's talk about overreach here for just a second. Anytime you have the president of the United States or his team, his campaign team, so to speak, anytime you have them giving orders to, at the time, he was acting CIA director, giving orders to an acting CIA director to make false claims about a journalist outlet in order to protect the candidate who is running, that is corruption at its finest, and you need to call it out. Look, I never liked Donald Trump, but Trump was right about that. And I think we need to get to a point in this country where we need to realize just because we don't like someone doesn't mean everything that they say is wrong. I'm going to say this again. Just because we don't like someone doesn't mean that everything that they say is wrong. Let's not fall into that camp. So we have the IRS issue with Hunter Biden. And now you have this issue with the Hunter Biden laptop story and the Biden campaign telling a former CIA director to make false claims about that story. Now, if they told you that that article was Russian disinformation, and they are now admitting that that was false. What else have they been lying to you about? What else? We're going to get into the next story that we're going to get into. That's the other thing that they're lying to you about when it comes to Russian disinformation. This is not to say that Russia does not have its issues. This is not to say that Putin doesn't have his issues. But what we will say is this: not everything that goes wrong is Russia's fault. Say it again. Not everything that goes wrong is Russia's fault. You have to be very careful about believing that message. Very careful.